speak to you a little bit about keys and where they've been. Apparently they were invented like 6,000 years ago by the Egyptians, and they were like wooden blocks and whatever. The Romans came up with a better idea. They melted down brass and steel, and they turned kind of little keys that we know about these days. And sometime in the 20th century, somebody decided to connect some electronics to it. And then somebody came up with this idea to have a little piece of plastic, embed some technology in it, and then that allows you to read a wavelength and unlock a door, talking to a database. Now we also can use biometrics and the whole 9 yards. But what I'm here to ask you is why we're not using our mobile phones. So we have mobile devices. I fall in love is a strong term, but I first was a little bit like poo-poo. I had my BlackBerry, my Crackberry, and I was fine with it. I went to the Apple store, and there were maps on my phone, and I was like, this is something I really need to be involved with, because I'm a super nerd when it comes to maps, and if they're right here on my phone, I want it all the time. So that begs the question, why are we lining up like it's 1999 to get our badges? Now, we've gone a long way, and Ivy Credential Center has taken significant strides to improve that process. So what they've done is they've used a number of different mechanisms where you can send you a picture in online, and they just verify it there, but they print it up. And behind all of that kind of simple magic sits this sort of complex series of interconnected tools, databases, mainframes. We have identity systems. All of this is complex, but it's not necessarily easy. It's not necessarily difficult. We do complex well. There physical hardware that's tied to it, identity systems. I'm saying all this just so you have some sort of idea of what the ecosystem looks like, what the environment is, what makes that little simple piece of plastic work day in and day out. Our friends over in housing and dining, they've tied it to Vivo Pay. You can use it to get direct sports. It's integrated in a fairly deep way into the university. But other universities have come along. They're like, maybe this mobile credential is a good idea. Vanderbilt, for one. I guess the Harvard and South, they're good. This I hate to show you. OU, they've done it. This one really, it pains me. It brings me a great deal of sadness. Alabama, they've done it. And now, a physical credential, it's fun, right? I have one that I actually keep around because it proves to people, back before I had a teenage daughter, that I had fun soccer style hair is what I called it. It was, one of those me in my rock and roll 20s and 30s. Not that I rock and roll, but generally enthusiastic about things. Why can't we embrace that, bring it together into a mobile ID? Maybe something like this. See, I had long hair. Wasn't all gray, I wasn't super tired yet. Teenage daughter keeping me up at night. It's possible. What we are looking for is a mobile ecosystem that will drive innovation. It's around campus in some ways. Athletics is using it. What if we tie Texas X's into that too in the Alumni Association? Plan uses a form of mobile ticketing. Cat Metro has an app. Vivo Pay, what if we tied that into our mobile app? It's capable. What if when we had alumni or visitors on campus, we could drop them, say, we have how many parents come here every year? 8,000, 9,000 students. And they show up and they're kind of lost, and it's a big time. It's hard. I remember, dropping my sister off in Chester, and 4 years older than me. My older sister was really it's a lot. You're kind of lost. And you're spinning around. What if we were able to drop a tool onto their mobile phone to give them just ease that integration just a touch more? Now the key, and I use that key metaphor, purposefully, is collaboration. I showed you that slide earlier where we had all these disparate complex systems, and that's not to say we can't do it. It's actually recognizing that we can. And in the process of doing, we'll probably be able to simplify our solutions. What we can probably do, I shouldn't say probably, what we can do is collaborate with housing and dining, ID center, libraries, rec sports, police department, to better merge our systems so that we can provide the tools that campus is clamoring for. When you ask the students what they want, they don't want to use their ID badge, even though maybe one day they'll look back on it and say, like, remember when I had soccer hair? They want to be able to have ease of access of their mobile phone to get into, buildings. They do it for everything else. I use mine, like I said, for maps. If I want to see how much money I have in my bank account, I go to my mobile phone. All of these things, your mobile phone is driving integration, it's driving innovation, and it's driving engagement. And that's really what I think that this is such a powerful tool of, engagement. We can drive the brand, we can drive UT into a phone every single day. I think it's a remarkable opportunity. And I know, after talking about all that opportunity, what's the price tag? So, it's not going to save money. And depending on the technology direction that we go, and there are a couple of different roads. Fundamentally, the technology that you could use to drop that ID on your phone is more or less the same as what is on your ID badge. They kind of work off the same principles. There are a couple different paths we can go down, and I'm not here to sell you on a specific path. That's what we need all those other teams for. Because there are black holes out there where people are using these badges and we don't know about it. And that's what I'm asking for here. Isn't necessarily the price tag. And I'll just step back half a sec. The price is about based on what we see about the same for the credential. It's roughly equal. There are a couple. They have a slightly different model for how you were to pay for a credential these days, or an ID badge. Sorry, I fell into like my nerd credential instead of ID badge or key badge. The mechanism for that is more or less going to be the same price. But if we can collaborate and if we can drive this innovation, we can work together, I think that we'll be able to smooth over this, kind of the mechanisms. We'll be able to vastly improve the way that we work together and provide ourselves a system that what starts here will change the door. Thank you very much. I got a couple of minutes to try to answer some questions. So, what do you have?
Can you talk about the aspect where it isn't actually necessary? It's not one or the other, not right?
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So Emil has been listening to this a couple of times. And so what I failed to mention is that it's not an all or nothing sort of an affair. So you can still have a badge. Some people have to have the badge. So, say it's people in the power plant or whatever. They wouldn't necessarily have a mobile phone. The adoption doesn't have to be all or nothing. It can be a mixed bag. Like I said, we have biometrics on campus. So a lot of athletics still use, or athletes, because they don't have their phone, they don't have their badge, they don't have anything, they'll use their finger. We can also keep the badge. We can also use a mobile credential. What we have found is that most people who will have the choice, they like their mobile credential. They like the mobile experience because they keep it on them all the time. I haven't seen many folks. I didn't have my phone on me all the time. Yes, please.
So, a couple of questions. While you were going through this process over the past numerous months, did you have a student focus group, say, that you could ask questions of? Hey, what do you guys think? Hey, look, Alabama has it, Oklahoma has it. So, how about you guys? Would you like that here? So, one, did you do that? And then two, did you reach out to those other universities to find out kind of the process they went through? What were their challenges, what were their successes, etc.?
Yeah, sure, thank you. We haven't had to because they come to us. They ask us all the time. I mean, it's like Mike, who's my director, he has to field these all the time. These questions like, why am I using this badge when I can use my phone? The second part, yes, Stanford, I didn't mention them. They have a fairly developed system that's about 3-ish, 4-ish years old. They actually started the migration prior to the pandemic. I've reached out to a number of these universities kind of to see what their pain points are. And for the most part, one good example and is, I think it was North Carolina State, one of those, forgive me, I don't know off the top of my head, they actually found that prior to the pandemic, they left all the doors open on all their buildings, kind of like we do here. After the pandemic, they had locked all the doors down in that space. After the pandemic, because they had adopted a mobile phone, people were fine with leaving the doors locked. Secured their space, they felt safer in these areas because it wasn't open to the public all the time anymore. But everybody had their phone, their bag, it's like kind of in a purse somewhere, in a wallet, or in a school bag with their phone was handy and available, and they could get into doors easier, and they felt better about leaving spaces closed.
We actually got notified at the beginning of the fall semester last year that student government had passed a resolution endorsing for the whole student body the adoption of mobile credentials on campus.
That was my next question. Okay, thank you, Mike.
One more, Richard, one more.
So we're changing over to near-peer communication on the phones. Will they, all the current HID card readers, will they accept near-field communications? Or will we have to replace all the card readers too in order to that or upgrade?
So, because we have this kind of bifurcated space, so housing and dining has their own, and like I mentioned, they use theirs for all sorts of different things.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Christina Costa. I am a project manager with Campus Construction, and I am here to share with you wayfinding for safety and security through the use of SEPTED. Imagine you're a new student trying to navigate campus, or a first responder on your way to an emergency. However, building names have changed, landscaping is overgrown, and there's limited lighting in areas. This is where SEPTED comes in. SEPTED stands for Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design. The benefits are natural surveillance, access control, reinforcement such as fencing, traffic control, social engagement, identifying and correcting maintenance issues, wayfinding maps, and enhancing safety, all of which can be updated in the design process of a project before construction. Our current process has designs going through technical review teams focusing on architectural and engineering designs. However, we do not have a SEPTED certified review at this time. UT currently has 3 SEPTED certified staff members on campus. As an example, let's take a look at San Bernardino, Texas, Riverside Middle School. Designs were approved. It wasn't until construction was complete they realized one entire side of the building had absolutely no windows. This prevented occupants from easily seeing if there was an emergency or hazards outside the building. A SEPTED review would have captured these issues and correcting them, saving the school district money in the future for modifications. Let's take a look at lighting. Most lighting is a high-pressure sodium lighting. It's very common on many campuses. It dilutes color with its yellow hue. However, an LED lighting allows you to fully see full color, as you can see in the diagram. Taking a look at looking at what it looks like after changing LED from high pressure sodium to LED, just makes a world of a difference. Looking at SEPTED improvements, on the left, you see an area that's full of shadow. You see a parking lot with overgrown landscaping. On the right, the building now has lighting, allowing you to be able to see as it gets dark outside. And landscaping is trimmed back, allowing you to fully see the parking lot. Taking a look at an incident where lighting, landscaping, and wayfinding all worked against first responders. Michigan State University, February 13, 2023. An active shooter attacked campus. Took 5 minutes before police were notified. In that 5 minutes, there were 8 victims. 3 of which were fatalities. 3 police departments were dispatched to assist. Unfortunately, because the building names had changed and wayfinding had not been updated, the police were not easily able to locate the buildings that the shooter had been. The police reached out to the public for assistance, and the news posted one still shot captured on an interior camera. A caller responded saying they recognized the shooter's unique shoes he was wearing. In all, it would take 4 hours before the suspect was located. Looking at our statistics provided by the Department of Public Safety, between 2018 and 2021, there were 1,371 reported criminal offenses. Just in 2019, there was the most, with 457 reported criminal offenses. So how do we help our first responders and benefit our community? We listen to the voices, the ones that matter here on campus. Students, staff, and faculty are all concerned with outdated wayfinding, blocked visibility, and limited lighting issues, especially on the northern side of campus. First responders are concerned about outdated wayfinding. There is no numerical signage on buildings here on campus. There's a lack of LED lighting, and our own UTPD is concerned that we do not have SEPTED in our campus master plan. Other universities across the nation are also concerned with outdated wayfinding, lighting issues, blocked visibility, and building identification. Since 2007, Virginia Tech University, Northern Illinois University, and Florida State University all adopted SEPTED after disastrous events happened on their campus. You'll notice I skipped University of Connecticut. They adopted it after the Sandy Hook shooting, only 70 miles from their campus. Other universities have started doing assessments for SEPTED on their campuses. It is estimated a disastrous event will happen on a campus every 10 years. After SEPTED assessments have been done on many campuses, there's a reduction in crime by 30 to 80%. We are on borrowed time. It is our responsibility to be proactive. It's time to add SEPTED to our master plan and our campus standards. We have early design reviews for SEPTED. We update and correct landscaping issues, bring our UT community together, enhance our lighting to LED, and update our wayfinding. Speaking of wayfinding, where are we? Where do we go from here? Our current wayfinding is a static wayfinding in various areas on campus. The one you see was updated in 2019. That's the newest. This one hasn't been updated since 2018. A lot has changed since then. And some, well, they're missing altogether. Jimmy Johnson said it best when he said, "Our campus wayfinding is a perfect snapshot of one day. Tomorrow, everything can change." It's time to take our wayfinding to a new level with interactive kiosks, providing important information such as emergencies, ADA routes, and celebrated entrances. Upcoming events, game days, and concerts can all be added onto the kiosk. A simple QR code will allow students and other users to be able to take the wayfinding with them in the palm of their hand. The estimated cost for this is $355,000 with an annual service fee of $21,000, which can be recouped with a rolling advertisement allowing for revenue to be built and ultimately paying for that service fee, annual service fee. You'll hear soon about other features that can be added on this as a concierge service and a lost and found information from both Kashawn and Caitlin. This project is very near and dear to my heart, and I don't speak of this often, and the reason why is because it's so hard. I have a friend who was murdered when we were in high school. Something like this may have prevented that from happening. We all like to say, what happens here changes the world. I like to say, what happens here changes their world. This interactive kiosk you see here as a demo will allow you to fully see how this will work and look on our campus. Thank you. I'd be happy to take questions.
How long would a program like this be up and running? Like, what does complete timeline look like?
So for the kiosk itself, it's a fairly quick build. I've been in communication with several different vendors, and they said what they do is they use our own map, they build from there. So we can have a system built in just a few months. The fabrication of the kiosk that you see is from Howard Technology. They build the outer core of it, and it can be completely customizable. And they said that it takes roughly a couple of months to build and then to install it. So we're looking at approximately a year or less for that portion. Adding the SEPTED to our master plan and our campus standard plan will not add any additional cost to the university unless there is a request for an outside consultant.
Hi, I'm Krishan Reed. I'm a project manager for campus construction on the infrastructure teams. Several years ago, me and my husband came down from Dallas to visit Austin. And we wanted to come to UT to see all the bells and whistles because my former co-worker graduated from UT in 1965. Well, we had the hardest time finding parking. Then once we found parking, we had the hardest time to see if we were close to all the attractions he told us to come see. So we did a self-guided tour. And then later on, we went back to the hotel and we went down to the concierge. Well, you know, the concierge knows everything going on in the city. Good places to eat, what tours you can take. So I started thinking, did I miss a information booth for a concierge? No, I didn't. Well, that changed today. Longhorn Concierge Service. First class experience with Longhorn's finest concierge service. The Longhorn Concierge Service will ensure that everyone's voice, questions, requests are heard and answered. It will enhance the first class experience with a little Texas hospitality to everyone that hit this campus. This virtual platform is accessible through mobile, website, and kiosk, indoor and out. You just heard from Christina about the kiosk. The app is also for the concierge on this kiosk. The overall goal is to improve the daily lives of our students, faculty, staff, and students by having a dedicated resource for everybody, all activities, information, and requests that's on campus. The initial selection at this time, that's why I say initial, because it can grow. Welcome Center. Welcome Center has a ton of resources. Like, for example, it assists with application admission. Visitor parking. It will show all accessible parking for visitors. Campus dining or cafes or coffee shops. It will give you the locations and the hours. I found this hidden gem by accident going to one of my projects, and I went inside to cool off, to be honest, and lo and behold, it was in there. And I got me something to eat afterwards. Campus tour. You can do self-guided tour or virtual tour, which a QR code will pop up on the screen, or a guided tour, which is given through the Welcome Center. Lost and found, location and hours. You will hear more about that from Caitlin. Events. It could be sporting events, plays at the performance hall, or plenty of events in the movie center. Reserved classroom and conference room. This is only accessible through UTEID, so you can go online and book. Transportation, that is public, special events, shuttles, and in the future, maybe ride shares. But if you still don't see what you're looking for, just hit the little chat box, and Vivo will steer you in the right direction. Vivo is powered by AI, artificial intelligence, and he also has all the questions that are asked. So in the future, we might need to add some selections like charging stations. A grocery store, we got a Target right here on campus. HEB is not that far. Amazon Hub Lockers. I'm a Prime member, so I know I'll be using this. Recycle guidance, which you'll hear more about from Lindsay. And travel assistance for faculty, staff, and students, international or out of state. Now, Longhorn Concierge cost. I'm just gonna recommend it. It's $450,000. That includes 18 kiosks, double-sided, indoor and out, installation, and also for the software, for the concierge software and Vivo Box. The annual fee for the licensing for Vivo and the concierge is around $40,000. But there's more. You can offset that cost with advertising. A new coffee shop is coming online in one of the buildings. Or you might want to advertise engineering job fair, or a special event, or a championship parade. I know my husband waiting to go to a Dallas Cowboy championship parade. He might be waiting for a minute, but stuff like that. So overall, the advertising brings revenue, and it would all pay for itself. And in addition, we might have to add more kiosks and a physical location. Now, the time is now for us to give that first-class experience with Little Texas hospitality to Longhorn's finest concierge service. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Keelan Crabb. I work at the police department. I'm a property evidence crime scene manager over there. And today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about lost and found. Just by a show of hands, how many of you have ever lost anything on campus? Great. Do you know where those items go? I found that a lot of people do not know where they go. So our current system is that people drop off those items to the police department if they find them, or we have PSOs who are public safety officers. And what they are is unlicensed officers who go around and they'll do door, like when we have door alarms, they check those and they pick up lost and found for us. So once a week they go to places like the Union, PCL, Jester, there's a few others, the main buildings, and they'll bring the lost and found to us. And so once it's at the police department, it's individually logged and put into a system. So the top 5 categories that the police department takes in for lost and found include electronics, keys, personal items, wallets, and jewelry. So in 2022, the top 5 categories Personal items including Texas driver's license, debit cards, credit cards, we brought in over 459. And jewelry, including UT rings, wedding rings, very important bracelets, watches, necklaces. We had 47 of those, and 246 electronic items, including laptops, iPads, some of which are UT property. And you can tell by the UT tag on the back. Out of 2022, 1,763 of those items did not get returned to their owners. And just a little bit of math, that was almost $1 million in valuables not returned to their owners. So what happens to those items that we bring in? Well, we hold on to them at the police department for 60 days. After 60 days, it goes to UT Surplus, where it is auctioned off. And they do online auctions, and they also have the reuse store where you can purchase those items. So what am I proposing? I am proposing a centralized lost and found program. And what do I mean by that? I mean easily accessible to all, and somewhere that it's known and centralized on campus. During this research, I found that a lot of people do not know that the police department houses lost and found, and or that the university has a lost and found. And in addition to that, that we even have a police department. Just a little fun fact there. So easily accessible to all. Texas State currently uses CrowdFind, which is an online database that allows you to view the items that come in. That way you're not having to make phone calls trying to find your item. So this can be easily accessible on a website, a mobile app, or on a kiosk. How do we, I know a question might come up, how do we keep people from going for a free-for-all? There are certain things and measures where, say, for example, the earpods. Well, when you set your earpods up, you usually put your name, or maybe you name it certain, your serial number, your last name. We can ask those questions and make sure that this is truly yours. There's also, well, is it the left earpod or the right earpod? Does it have a case? Are there any engravings? There's ways to mitigate someone having a free-for-all by claiming these items online. Known centralized location. When you think of UT, at least this is my thought process, I think of athletics, football. It's very well known. And when we win a football game, what happens? We light up that UT tower. Everyone knows where the tower is. It's pretty central on campus. And the known centralized location that I was thinking of is the main building. There's plenty of space in Main to house this program. So what is the cost? There is a cost for adding personnel to run the lost and found. Currently, you have 2 people who do it, who also have additional duties as well, so they're not always in the office. So you get a lot of, I've been trying to call you all day, and unfortunately, if someone's in the office and answers the phone, that's where that miscommunication happens. So the total cost for the personnel is going to be around $200,000, and that's for 4 people to run Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. There are additional duties in this cost to not just lost and found. With the PSOs, they, like I told you, they do the door alarms and other additional duties as well. So here's a picture of one of our PSOs. And why I chose PSOs is we like to call them our eyes and ears. They are responsible for public relations. You'll see them walking around, biking around campus. And they help prevent theft and damage to university property and personal property. So I'd like to tell you a story. And this happened in real life. It was a young man's freshman year, new to campus, and he was trying to find a layout of his new environment. First week of school, he goes to Moody, at the time it was Frank Irwin Center. He's trying to make friends, and somehow he lost his wallet. Fast forward to senior year, he's 2 weeks away from graduating. his wallet turns up. It took us 4 years to turn that wallet back over to him. Obviously, when I called him, he was like, I didn't lose my wallet, it's here in my pocket. And I was like, well, this is kind of old. It came from the Frank Irwin Center, which, hasn't been used in a while once Moody opened. And so he was like, I lost that my freshman year, first week of my freshman year. And it's like, well, let's get it back to you. So we have to empower these individuals to locate their items. And it's our responsibility to get these items back to them. It's our duty to promote the lost and found and make it easier for not only our students, staff, and faculty, but to our visitors. At any given time, we can have over 100,000 people here for a UT football game. If we have a full event staff concert at Moody, we're talking 15,000 plus. Any given day, we have 70,000 people on campus, not including visitors. So the influx of lost and found is going to continue to go up, and we need to also continue to grow. I'm open to any questions. Yes, sir.
Is there gonna be like an operating procedure for all those that collect lost and found before they bring them to you, and how long they can hold on to those items? I know deep down they wanna hold on to them forever, hoping the person will come back.
Yes, sir, and that actually does happen. Some buildings on campus will keep them the entire semester, and at the end of the semester, when it's time to go, they'll bring an entire box just full of stuff. On our website, we do have a transport log, which is how you're supposed to log it. And with the PSOs, they pick up once a week. So we're hoping to start adding more buildings and promote the lost and found so that they know if you get something, send it to us.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I know we've all been so excited to share our ideas with you that we've been working on for the past 6 months. I'm no different. Today I'll be sharing with you an idea for a financial wellness program that will help our staff. But first, I also want to take a poll of the room. Who here, ever in their life, has faced financial stress? Maybe paying rent, maybe you have a huge medical bill, right? We've all experienced it in all of our stages of life. My name is Angela Frasina. I'm the Senior HR Consultant on the Strategic Workforce Solutions team, and I'm going to talk through the idea for this plan with you today. We've all faced financial stress, and so many of our staff face it every day. Some of them may even be one car repair away from not being able to come to work or earn a living. And one medical emergency could lead a whole family into a spiral of debt. Did you know a survey was conducted outside of the university, a number of individual private surveys by companies that promote these types of products. So admittedly, they're on my side. 70% of workers report facing financial stress in life. And 46% of those workers say that it impacts the quality of their work. They've even admitted to being distracted up to 30 minutes a day to deal with financial stress. And 20% of those people admit to missing work altogether to tend to some financial issues. I also want to share with you, and this is across many different surveys and resources, that an employee facing financial stress is 2.3 times more likely to quit their job. So the issue that we face here at the university is a staff that's facing financial stress, and as a result, may have lower productivity, lower engagement, or may leave us altogether. With the high standard of excellence that we have at the University of Texas at Austin, we can't afford to lose that top talent by failing to support their financial wellness. This program proposes to promote staff financial wellness, alleviate stress, retain top talent, and create opportunities for continuous learning for staff at the university. Some of the topics that we'll cover will include your paycheck and where the money goes, how to impact your student debt, or how to build a savings account. We can also talk about meal planning to help reduce cost of eating out, to improve your own health and wellness, and to also reduce food waste at home. On the way in today, I heard a statistic on KUTX that 30% of renters are paying more than half of their paycheck to live in Austin. That's something we can't change as a university, but it is something that we can help support. We can find resources to provide to our workers to assist with making those decisions of how to keep a roof over your head. And we'll also support finding how to get from point A to point B without breaking the bank. As we all probably know in this room, UT staffers and faculty and students can use the bus for free. We'll find other resources too that can help support those efforts. To execute this plan, there will be a few different channels that will communicate these resources through. First, a central website that can gather resources that already exist at the university. I know that payroll, our employee assistance program, HR, and also our finance departments have resources that already exist, and staff just don't know where to find them. This is an example of our student financial wellness website. So I would plan to partner with them, innovate this website so that it can translate into a staff resource. We would also create and curate online learning and webinars, host lunch and learns and wellness workshops, and curate and create money management tools like a rent or mortgage calculator or a retirement savings calculator. Those are just some examples. Now we know that a program like this won't be without its challenges. So I want to address those head on to ensure that this can roll out as smoothly as possible. We know that this cannot be one size fits all. Everyone in this room is at a different stage in their life, in their career, and in their own financial wellness journey. So we will ensure that the program is approachable, accessible, and covers multiple stages of life. So from building financial literacy to preparing someone to retire and everything in between. Secondly, there is potential with this program for staff to think that it's just a distraction or it's just a red herring from the real issue that we could just pay them more. And while that's a very real sentiment across staff at the university, we all know that we've taken great strides in this effort, especially in the past 2 years, to address those gaps that are perceived between the university and the private sector. And the real fact is that regardless of if we were paying you more, these tools would still be extremely valuable to you. And finally, there might be a bit of embarrassment or a stigma to engaging with this program. And so I think it's imperative that we use extremely positive language, supportive language. So instead of we are addressing financial failures, right, that feels terrible, we would instead say we're supporting your financial success, right, and really turning it around so that it feels good to engage and not scary. Over the next 6 months to a year, the plan will roll out in a few phases. The first, of course, will be the most important, where I'll gather together subject matter experts across the university, including faculty, staff, and benefits partners, finance partners, learning and development, to identify what we really need the most and what is our priority, what does our staff need to support them in their financial stress. Once we do that, we'll identify a curriculum partner that would probably be external to the university and have a small price tag to create some of the trainings that we would want to provide online and in person. And we would reach out to, especially at McCombs, some of our subject matter experts and faculty and staff who can give us and lead our wellness workshops. Then we'll initiate a pilot where we'll ask for feedback from staff. We'll implement that feedback and then implement the program university-wide. Of course, there will be ongoing updates and upkeep and innovations to the program for the rest of its life cycle. So remember at the beginning of our time together, I said that an employee who's facing financial stress is 2.3 times more likely to quit, meaning they're 2.3 times more likely to leave the university. We lose that talent. I did a little bit of digging, and I identified that over 350 people in staff have resigned this year alone. Now, they may not have all left for financial stress, but the 70% of people facing financial stress metric we talked about could very easily apply to this population. So probably maybe 200 of them left because of stress. The Society for Human Resources estimates that it costs about $4,700 to replace an employee who's left. So I don't know, if I do the math, and I'm sure you're doing the math too, we've probably spent almost $1 million replacing people this year. Why don't we take those dollars and invest them into something that will benefit the university? Let's put that money back into a resource that can support our staff to achieve financial wellness and, wellness overall in life. Thank you. Yes.
Do you know of any other institutions that have piloted a program like this and what the outcome was?
I was very sad to see when doing my initial research that our peer institutions are mostly just doing this for students, and there really aren't any resources available for staff. And sadly, even when I looked at the Harvard website, their staff resources are more about like where to find free food instead of how to enable you for success moving forward in life. So I think we have a real opportunity here to do something that's different and groundbreaking that really hasn't been done before.
What about non-educational institutions? Are there any, big companies that you know of that have done a program like this? And if there's any results on like retaining talent?
There are big companies that are doing it. I primarily focused on universities, but I do know that there are multiple companies that exist to institute just these types of programs. And in reading their research, they do find large numbers of retention and overall happiness among the staff. Yes,
Can you talk a little bit about your partnerships? I think you mentioned like UFCU or other people that might be able to partner with curriculum and.
Yeah, so the University Federal Credit Union, although they aren't us, right? They are a partner in the out in the state. That they already have an extremely robust financial wellness offering on their own website, and so I really want to work with them and partner with them to use some of those resources. I've also been sent by some of my colleagues, other external partners. Bank of America, for instance, has a similar offering online, and I do have emails out to both institutions in order to engage with them on how we can work together and what we can borrow from them, and then what we can innovate on our own. Yes, Lisa. Oh.
Have you looked at LinkedIn Learning to see what sort of classes and how that can work?
Yeah, absolutely. We already have an engagement with LinkedIn Learning, and everyone here in this room can use it for free. So we can curate playlists through LinkedIn Learning to make available to the employees as well.
So can I respond to that a little bit? I think when we talk about building curriculum, we look at blended learning, so incorporating things like LinkedIn Learning or other videos out there in addition to instructor-led training and things like that. So definitely we look at resources we already have, but not just, butts in seats, instructor-led training, but a variety of different ways of learning.
Elisa, did you have a question?
Yeah, and you mentioned something about speakers, so what is your thought on that?
Yeah, my thought on that, I actually modeled off of this program. We had the really exciting opportunity to have 4 or 5 different members of faculty come and speak with us on really relevant topics to leadership. And so I think it would be about identifying those resources that exist to talk to us about money management or to talk to us about retirement planning, and have them come in and do a speaker series over the course of a year. I think that the cost would be low, or I know that the cost would be low, and we can make it extremely accessible through Zoom and also in person. Great. Yep. Great. Thank you very much.
The
University of Texas does not have a staff mentorship program. And we know ourselves the value of mentorship in terms of our own professional growth and what it means to be personally supported in our role at work. Research tells us there's also benefits for mentors. Mentors have increased job satisfaction, increased commitment to the organization, their own increased career success. And for both the mentor and mentee, there's increased engagement. In these times of prolific burnout, engagement matters. Burnout brings us depletion, a loss of energy, decreased productivity, increased turnover, negative impacts on the health and wellness of the individual. And when one or more person in a workplace are burned out, there can be a negative ripple impact in that workplace. Many people think that because of the depletion with burnout, that the opposite of being burned out is to be rested, and it's not. It's to be engaged. Building engagement between a mentor and mentee decreases burnout. In decades of research on resilience, the most consistent finding is that, more than anything else, our relationships make us resilient. Relationships between a mentor and mentee build resilience. When we connect with our work group, or when we connect across our larger work group, it builds resilience. When we connect with the fact that we are part of a community of people here at UT, and part of something bigger than ourselves in that community, it builds resilience. Mentorship starts here as a comprehensive staff mentorship program. It is a professional development intervention, positive workplace culture, an engagement intervention, a health and wellness and resilience intervention. It's a retention intervention. So how do we do it? How do we intentionally increase something that tends to happen organically and relationally? So we go to our units, and by consulting with the units, the members, the leaders, HR, we identify people that are already seen as or could easily be seen as mentors. And we bring them together in a small group to go through a best practice curriculum. We're teaching quality, ethical mentorship, but it doesn't end there. These groups continue over time for ongoing learning. And we teach creative models of mentorship. It can be a one-on-one relationship. It can be a mentor moment. It can be peer mentorship, rotating mentorships. And then mentorship starts here, consults with these groups to help them tailor their mentorship efforts to best meet the needs and culture of their group. So we create these groups across larger work groups. For example, here in Central HR, we might have someone from Strategic Workforce Solutions, Benefits, EAP, Occupational Health, the admin team, one circle. We go to our university resource groups, Black Faculty Staff Association, Military Veterans Faculty Staff Associations, circles. We go to our staff organizations. We have networks of academic advisors, graduate program coordinators, admins, as a few examples, circles. And we create some for folks that are not connected in one of these other ways. As we continually build these circles and consult with departments and organizations to tailor their mentorship, we bring everyone together for university-wide events. We have speakers for ongoing education about mentorship. We share successes, lessons learned. What are the creative things that are happening about mentorship at the University of Texas? Because what we're doing is building, sustaining, and embedding a culture of mentorship in our departments and in our organizations. In order to successfully do this, mentorship starts here and needs a dedicated staff, small annual budget, and approval for mentors to use a couple of hours of time monthly on mentorship activities. I've been thinking lately about this concept of our life's work professionally. I know when I say those words, many of us think of our kids or things we do in the community, but professionally. And some people think of it all building to an ultimate, that book you had in you that you finally wrote, that most impactful research study, that top position or program you accomplished. I think of it really collectively. Everything we do and every job and all of our work is our life's work. So for me, that's everything from learning to deal with difficult people and make the perfect dip cone, working at the Dairy Queen when I was 16 years old. It's laying concrete by hand to build schoolrooms in northern Guatemala. I picture the faces of graduate students and undergraduate students I've taught, being able to start and direct a college counseling center, taking my peer health educators to their first conference, teaching them how to do health education. I picture going out to people in dire need of mental health services. At the first EAP I worked at the turkey processing plant. Almost 15 years here at the University of Texas in the Employee Assistance Program. And so many more jobs and roles and tasks and people. It is, collectively, my life's work. As you consider your life's work, remember the gifts of mentorship you've been given. Be intentional about the ways that your mentorship of others is part of your life's work, because it should be. All of us are part of our life's work. And I ask for your support of this proposal so that mentorship can be part of the life work of every staff at the University of Texas. Thank you. I welcome your questions. Anyone? Okay, yes.
I think you create a culture where people want to ask or seek out a mentor.
Yes.
I've been involved in organizations for a long time, and almost every senior leader will say, I would love to be a mentor. Like we talked about earlier, the formal mentor programs where it's like you're assigned to someone or you must need yours with 6 rules and checklists and all the other stuff. But how do you think you can create a culture where people are seeking out mentor relationships?
You teach mentors how to be accessible, how to communicate, how to talk about the different models of mentorship, how to offer what they have to teach. But it's not really just about what you have to teach. It's about what does this person need to learn? What are they ready to learn? How do you have the skills to communicate around that?
Today we're going to look at something that is all around us, that you may not have paid much attention to before, but I hope you'll start noticing everywhere. It's campus waste bins. This proposal covers the 3 categories of bins to provide a comprehensive service to campus: indoor, outdoor, and dumpster areas. This proposal also addresses 3 major initiative areas of the university: first-class aesthetics, improved purchasing, and operational excellence, including accomplishment of the zero waste goal. During the pandemic, waste servicing was recognized as an essential service. In fact, when you stop to think about it, we interact with waste bins across our day every day. In fact, it's one of the experiences that most campus visitors will have as well. And whether or not we pay them much attention, waste bins are communicating about us as an organization. They can appear ad hoc and uncared for, or organized and purposeful, thereby undermining or reinforcing the university's image, including community confidence in our recycling. Currently, there is no cohesive look that presents as the University of Texas at Austin. The current aesthetic is random. If you ask campus community members about prestigious locations on campus, you'll hear the Ransom Center, an internationally renowned museum and research center, and the law school, a top law school in the country. Unfortunately, the waste bins in those spaces are not first class. There are cheaper plastic options, they're mismatched, liners don't fit quite right, and signage is inconsistent. So let's look at how our purchasing may have gotten us into this spot. So currently there is no official guidance for what to purchase. People doing purchasing are not experts, and so they may consider a few features, but are not looking at the bin comprehensively. This has resulted, for example, like at the engineering school, where they operate 7 buildings, and they want to reallocate some of their infrastructure. They bring a bin into a new space and realize it doesn't match. And they do want to maintain aesthetics, and so they end up sending that perfectly functional bin to surplus instead. And then during construction, sometimes bins are part of the project budget and sometimes not. In fact, I was told that trash is usually missed. An example of a recent project that was getting ready to open, and they were wanting to have some waste bins outside, but they were watching every penny at the end of that project and just not sure that it would work in the budget. I was able to evaluate their plans, and based on my expertise and knowledge of user behavior, provide them with the feedback that we don't even recommend having a bin outside, which saved them $5,000. In fact, based on work that Resource Recovery has already done, looking at the public spaces of our academic buildings, we found that 4 out of 10 bins on average are unnecessary. So not only are we overbuying bins, but it impacts our operations as well. Custodial services sets a certain amount of square footage to be cleaned each hour. So the more bins we have, the more it pulls them away from other important cleaning tasks. I wish I had been here when the business school was designing this plaza. I don't know if you've ever noticed before, but they used 13 trash cans to define the seating area. Some of our students on campus thought this was not a feature of campus either, and when they used this image on their org website, they edited out those waste bins. So let's look at how some of this purchasing chaos affects our operations. In 2014, there was actually a bin selected as a standard in our landscape master plan, but there was no mechanism for enforcement. And so the first project that was built, the Speedway Pedestrian Mall, implemented this bin. You can see that ongoing maintenance is important. Unfortunately, no amount of maintenance can make up for the fact that this bin is undersized for its location. It's accessible to and attracts wildlife, which has resulted in 3 students being bitten by raccoons, a clear health and safety issue. And from a zero waste perspective, the landfill and recycling compartments are visually difficult to distinguish. It's issues like these that may have resulted in a recent Reddit discussion about whether the university legitimately handles our recycling. In order to address these issues, we need campus bin standards and better purchasing. By this I mean centralizing our purchasing through facility services to better serve our campus clients. I anticipate a working group meeting across the next year to establish the bin standards and test equipment on campus. Funding will be needed for a dedicated bin manager who can provide personalized support to evaluate, purchase, install, and provide ongoing maintenance support for the right bin in the right place. Additional funding will be used to replace our existing bins on campus, and then each year we will evaluate upcoming needs and put them together into one bulk order for the university to continue to save funds. Now going forward, we can use construction standards to implement this standard. However, on average, this will impact 1 new academic building each year. So to really see the impact of this change, we'll need to replace our existing bins as well. Fortunately, I anticipate substantial cost savings by this one-time approach. So I was able to estimate the number of waste bins we might need in the public areas of main campus academic buildings, and then worked with a major bin manufacturer to get an idea of costs. And a commitment to quantity results in savings. So for over 2,600 bins, the cost would be about $200,000, which is almost 50% savings over retail. Additionally, I foresee some funds being returned to the university by the sale of disused bins at surplus, and then each year about a 20% savings for the university as we do those bulk purchases. So you may be asking, is this a new approach for campus? It's not. We've seen the need for standards before and done something about it. Custodial Services has selected standardized dispensers so that they can easily stock refill materials, for example. And then a previous Leadership Growth Program graduate, proposed and implemented door hardware standards, which has seen cost and efficiency savings for the university. The University of Michigan has been a great resource. Their president prioritized bin standards and replacing all of their existing bins, and they emphasize the clarity and simplicity that this has achieved for campus. And Arizona State University similarly has institutionalized the bin type as well as ongoing maintenance to achieve a campus aesthetic and maintain that campus aesthetic. So as you leave here today, I know you're gonna come across some waste bins, and I hope that it triggers for you that they can and should be so much better. They can be visual reminders across our university that we are a first-class institution with operational excellence and a commitment to sustainability while achieving real-world results of capturing more recycling and cleaner recycling, and doing all of this while saving the university money. So I return to my initial image, and I hope you see it there now, that there's always a waste bin nearby. And moving forward with purchasing centralized through facility services, we can ensure that that bin and all bins communicate the message we want them to. We can do better. Zero waste needs us to do better. Excellence starts with the waste bin. Thank you.
Do you visualize that this program standardization and aesthetics would tie in with wayfinding and signage around campus? Since we have, standards for interior wayfinding and exterior, and I was thinking as you were speaking that that would be a good tie-in feature. Has that come into your thoughts?
Well, I mean, it certainly would be included as a construction standard, which I think like signage and wayfinding is addressed there as well. I'm interested to hear kind of maybe more about how you're thinking that.
When you showed the slide of the aesthetics of the campus and matching being appropriate for the space or the building that it serves, I was thinking that in terms of wayfinding, knowing, being recognizable and at the same time aesthetically pleasing to the.
Yeah, for sure. I think that there are some challenges now where you don't get a sense through the bins, through that infrastructure that you are on campus. I noted myself that Adobe is now a part of campus, but the bin there is different than the bin across the street, which is a more sort of historically kind of recognized part of campus. And so kind of standing across the street, you're not sure, like, am I still on campus anymore or not? So I think it does make a difference and can benefit that.
Lindsay, maybe you could talk a little bit about the ideas you have of collaboration, of sort of the focus groups, pulling them together to determine those design standards. Like that you're not envisioning this as just, somebody dictating this. You have other people partnering, correct? Or groups partnering.
Right, for sure. So I anticipate I'll be a stakeholder, but I'm going into that kind of welcoming the input of everybody else. There's lots of entities that touch bins throughout the day, work with bins, and have a stake in them. So landscape services and custodial services that help maintain them, and building managers and that sort of thing. So, bringing everybody to the table and looking at, what's really needed in kind of many different aspects of how the bin functions and how it looks.
Good morning. I'm Matthew Spangenberg. I work with ITS Campus Solutions, and I would like to talk to you today about improving remote management here at UT Austin. About 3 years ago, I finished the work week out. I went home and I was so excited because I was going on vacation with my family. We were going to take a road trip across the country. We were going to go spend some time in the mountains. We got home. My wife and I packed up the kids and all of our luggage. We got in the car and we started heading off. We were having a blast until about halfway through. We started getting phone notifications, news notifications popping up, radio articles. We were hearing on the radio that the pandemic was forcing lockdowns across the country. We immediately realized that our vacation was on hold. It was over for the time. Businesses and schools were closing, and we needed to get home to see what was happening with UT. So we turned around and went back to Austin. When we got there, I pulled out my laptop and I immediately jumped online and saw that we needed help getting professors access to Zoom. So I immediately started remote working, and I was helping professors get their email addresses correct with Zoom, because we had just signed the contract with Zoom, and it was a brand new service that we were launching. My wife and I both talked to each other that night and realized that work was never going to be the same for us. The landscape truly had changed. My department had always been, since I had been there, had been a hybrid environment. We would be able to work 1 or 2 days a week from home, and then we would work the rest of the week from the office. While we were in the office, we could do things like go and talk to our colleagues and find out what new services they were launching, find out what new trainings that they had heard of. We could put pictures on the walls of our cubicles of our children and our families and share that with everyone. But remote work changed that. Suddenly and jarringly, it changed that for everyone in our department. And there was a steep learning curve. We had to figure out how to work remotely, how to break down silos, how to go and find out why a ticket wasn't being worked. While we were in the office, it was really easy to do that. I had a manager who loved to find out that we had tickets that weren't being resolved, because he would go to that person's cubicle and knock on the door and say, "Hey, why haven't you done this yet?" But with remote work, we couldn't do that. It was gone. And that wasn't just happening to the UT. That wasn't just happening to our department. That was happening across the globe. And since the outset of the pandemic, the number of remote work hours has increased exponentially. This is something that has changed, and it is something that isn't going away anytime soon. In order to stay competitive in the market, and especially a hyper-competitive market like Austin, UT needs to be able to offer remote work to some employees where it makes sense. We need a strategy in order to embrace this change, to make things better. If you're worried about the dangers of what happens without a strategy, without a remote work strategy, you don't have to look very far, because most of those you hear about most of those through the headline news. For example, there was an article recently, a few weeks ago, about an insurance company who has a brand new CEO and is requiring all of their employees to move back to campus, or to their campus, and work on site. Most of those employees had moved across the country to go help their families. They had sick parents, or they had kids that were going to college in other states. And now they were being told by a brand new CEO that they had to come back to work in office. A lot of those employees have threatened to unionize, have threatened to quit. And if you want an example of that that's closer to home, you don't have to look very far, because we have the city of Austin. There are employees that are protesting right now because they were told that they have to come back to the office. There are many good reasons to work on site and to require teams to work on site. There are so many of them, and there are always going to be the need for teams on site and in person. But one of the reasons to require teams to be on site should never be that managers and leaders do not have the skills in order to lead remote teams. We need a strategy. We need a strategy to be able to effectively navigate this new environment that we find ourselves in. Imagine, if you will, that you're a brand new, that you're a manager at UT Austin who's been leading an in-person team for years. You've done a great job. You've worked really hard. You've worked developing your team and your leadership skills, and you just got offered a brand new job in a different department within UT. But that department is fully remote. What you need is training to help you build those skills that you've already developed to meet the needs of your new remote team. And we can do that by developing a training program for remote leaders. It can be hosted, it will be hosted within UT Learn in the manager training curriculum. We also, in order to supplement this, we'll be creating digital workspaces through Teams and through remote lunch and learns that will allow managers and leaders to collaborate and find solutions to their unique challenges that they face. Some of the core skills that we will have, some of the core competencies within this training program include communication, how to communicate remotely. It's different than it was in the office. It is much different. You can't just walk over and ask that person why they haven't worked that ticket. You have to be able to navigate things with the remote tools that we have available. Mentorship. You have to be able to develop your employees a lot more because there's a lack of community. There's a significant lack of community for workers who work remotely. We can build that community as well. Managers need to be able to build community and build the culture of their teams and process enhancement. Finding ways that work better for your remote team. Finding ways to help share that with the University of Texas Austin. While I was preparing for this presentation and this project, I interviewed managers across campus. I talked to them and said, what are your fears? What are the strengths that you've seen from this? What is working for you? What isn't? And resoundingly, one of the fears that they expressed most often was the fear that their team would lose connection to each other and lose connection to the UT campus. And that's a very real fear. We need to find a way to address that. And we can help that by helping managers navigate those pitfalls, by helping them learn how to build remote teams, culture better. A manager of an employee who works in Washington State, who's never been to Austin, never been to UT campus, the first person that they're going to have in contact with at the university and the most important connection to campus and to their team is that manager, and they need to realize that. And they need to find ways that work for them to be able to do that. With a more engaged team, or with a tighter knit community and a better culture within that team, employees will be more engaged and employee retention will go through the roof. It's something that we need here at UT Austin. There are many benefits of a remote leadership training program. Better engaged leaders. We will be investing in our staff, helping them take skills that they learn, much like the Leadership Growth Program, and be able to take them to places beyond UT Austin. And it's cost effective. It's very easy to create a training program and maintain it within a digital environment. We have a chance here to improve the lives of our employees, to make things better for them, to make things better for their families, and make things better for the lives of our community. We say what happens here changes the world. We really need to seize that opportunity by creating a remote leadership training program. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Adriana Vukovic, and today I will be talking to you about women in construction and how we can work together to change the industry's demographics by mentorship and recruitment. When I was a young adult growing up in a faraway land, I wanted to grow up to be a pianist. I had my career path planned out, and I was attending the music elementary school with the intent to go on to the music academy, graduate from there, and become a concert pianist. When my family moved to the States, my plans changed abruptly, and in high school, by accident, I discovered a passion for art. I had an art teacher that quickly became my mentorship and helped me to develop an interest in the study of architecture. At the time, my father was working as a contractor, and so I had the opportunity to see some of the projects that he was working on, learn a little bit about the field. it was with the encouragement of these two people that I went on to college and got a bachelor's degree in architecture. And I've been in the field of construction for the last 20 years. Being in this field allows me the opportunity to be creative, to problem solve, to think about things in different fashions, and also to feel a sense of accomplishment and achievement and pride when I see some of the projects that I have worked on in the past. However, over the years, I have seen a great disparity and missed opportunity that is having a negative impact on the field. When you drove in or walked to see us present this morning, it's likely that you passed by a number of construction job sites. If you paid any attention, you probably wouldn't have seen any or maybe just a few women working at those construction job sites. Women in construction are a minority. Even though the field of construction has been very progressive in the use of technology, the way that we design and we build, the use of materials, the safety codes that we implement, there are serious lacks in efforts to recruit women into the field of construction. This is interesting because almost half of the United States labor force is made up of women. Within the field of construction, on the professional side, 26% make, about 26% of architects, engineers, and construction project managers are female, while in the field of construction, only about 10.9% are construction worker females. The lack of participation for women can be attributed to several factors. One of the factors is associated with the negative stigma that suggests that construction is maybe not for women, or it's not appropriate for girls, or it's only appropriate for those that don't care to seek a college degree. The others are lack of recruitment and lack of mentorship. Although lack of recruitment and mentorship are starting to get recognized by some of the national organizations like COA, APA, NALIC, and SUI, these organizations are starting to voice their concerns over the numbers that are lacking in women participation, and starting to organize events along in their communities that encourage recruitment of younger generations into the field of construction. UT Austin is one of the top public universities in the nation. We are proud wearers of the motto that says, what starts here changes the world. What starts here should change an industry and the demographic of an industry. How do we go about accomplishing that? We can start by creating an event on campus for girls in construction. This is a 2-day event that is centered around bringing young women aged middle school and high school to our campus and giving them an opportunity to explore the field of construction. We will show them what is exciting about the field, what they can do, what career paths they can pursue. We will reach out to our local vendors and talk to our partners who are architects, engineers, contractors. We'll leverage our relationships to invite all of these different vendors to come and speak to the young women in the community about the field. We'll organize booths where our young girls can go in and sit with the women architects and engineers and develop designs of their dream structures. We will invite contractors who are also women to help them to build their dream structures. We'll have stations for bricklaying, concrete, flooring, tile, showing the young women how to actually do these jobs. UT Austin has partnerships with many of the local firms here and also throughout the state. So we would leverage those partnerships with the architects and engineers, with the contractors. We'll leverage our partnership with construction services, which is right here on campus. We would use the facilities complex as our site for this event and work with tradespeople within construction services to explore the different trades. We'll use our partnership with NAWIC, which is the National Association of Women in Construction, to encourage participation by the contractors. In order to ensure that we have participation by young women, we will reach out to middle schools, high schools, trade schools, and the Austin Community College to invite them to this two-day event. The idea for this program is that it will come at no cost to UT. We would work with our partners in the community to engage people to come in, to participate, to offer their expertise, and to work with the young women. You've heard the benefits of mentorship that Mary talked about earlier. This is an opportunity for UT Austin to make an impact in the community, to encourage participation by young women, to recruit, to mentor, to teach and guide, and allow our young women to become trailblazers. Thank you. I'll open it up to questions.
Sure. Just comment for your presentation.
Thank you.
As a father of two daughters, for volunteers, kind of.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And Hannah, would you think about adding in HVAC techs, plumbers, electricians, right?
Absolutely.
Journeyman style, if you will. Because I know there's a lot of interest from girls, particularly in high school, that lean towards that side or might be strong in math and haven't quite figured out where their niche is. And for them to discover that early and maybe spark some interest, I think that would be really cool also. Love the idea of this. You've been in the industry a long time, so yeah, I think it's a great opportunity. And also would help, we're challenged hiring so many trades positions still yet today, and Austin's such a rough market as it is, that this could help boost recruitment for us at the same time, so good job.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I know you talked to the provost, can you tell us a little bit about that conversation?
Yes, so I had the opportunity to meet with the provost and talk to her about some of the challenges of the field and construction and the way that things are currently. My question actually to provost and a lot of other women who are in the field, the minorities who are in the field was, as this minority person, do you feel that you have to work harder? Do you have to, prove yourself more? Do you have to know more? The overall feeling, and I think it started like from the provost and on to everybody. And by the way, provost is an engineer, but she doesn't practice as an engineer, obviously. She has other things to do. Is that, as a woman in construction, you have to know more, you have to be better prepared, never make any mistakes, you have to just be way more dedicated than your male counterpart. So I feel it, I think everybody feels it.
Thank you.
It sparked my memory of we used to have a hub fair that was in person, sometimes at the Urban Center, sometimes at the Conference Center. And I'm wondering if you had reached out to that group. It seems like there's a natural link to this topic with the historically underutilized businesses that tie in. And it just reminded me we had a fair. We would have those fairs annually, and it was something to kind of get that recruitment and the message out that there is a viable living to be made in this profession. Yeah.
I love that. I haven't reached out to Hub, but when I did meet with NAWIC's local chapter president, she said NAWIC currently has some of the programs that it's not an event on campus, but they do reach out to middle schools and high schools to recruit young women, and then they set up camps, summer camps. Come in, do construction projects, and we'll show you what each trade does. I think that the message that has to be carried out in terms of trade, this is a craft. It's not a trade. It's not hard. I mean, it is hard work. It is a trade, but it's also a craft. It's something that you take pride in and something that you're doing that it's grand. Thank you.
Great job, everybody. So our first, Ben Martin for Embrace the Mobile Future, harnessing the ease and security of mobile IDs. Christina Costa, wayfinding for safety and security. Michonne Reed for Longhorn Concierge Service. Caitlin Crabb for improving lost and found. Angela Persina for financial wellness program. Mary Beatty for mentorship starts here. Lindsay Hutchison for excellence starts with the waste bin. Matthew Spangenberg for remote leadership training program. Great job, man. And Vukovic for women in construction. I also want to just thank some people who supported the program. We do have guest speakers, several of them come through the program every year, and they're going to be mentioned in this as well. But starting with Michelle Bennett, Tatiana Callahan, Francis De La Cruz, Janet Zukarich, Marcus Hogue, Jen Krieger, Arden Markman, Ann Nellis, Robert Prentice, Julie Schell, and Jeremy Surrey. And of course, all of you contribute your own way and have had an impact on this program. For that, I thank you all so much. To our graduates, change is difficult, especially a drastic change. And that doesn't mean it has to be painful or traumatic. And in fact, when led well, it is exciting and invigorating. And so I ask that you remember often as you move away from this program, how this program affected you and how invigorating your leadership was to your peers and to everybody in this room. It matters, it makes a difference. And I also ask that you reflect often about how you can affect change in the future. Think about how you felt today, how exciting it was. But more so that you can instill that excitement with the people you lead so that they can be inspired and enabled to affect change for the great things that ideas they have and actually, fortify those ideas and have them come into reality. With that, please join me in congratulating the Leadership Growth Program class of 2023. Lots of food.